if you haven't got time for this, here's a quick version. One thing required. Sell this, buy an M2. Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to talk about the 5 things that in my opinion would make BMW's M140i perfect. So far I've had 471 days of daily driving this thing. I've done 19,300 miles and these are the things that I've come up with. Now this isn't a 5 things I hate video. These are not things I hate. And 5 things I hate videos have been done to death. This isn't one of those. No, these are minor niggles at best. None of them are essential, but they're just things that I think BMW's M140i could do with to make what is an already great car perfect. So number 1, let's start with the limited slip differential. With all the power these things have, and on mine I've got 360 horsepower, 395 pounds-feet of torque or 530 newton meters. With all of that going through the rear axle, it's a weapon, but it needs an LSD if you're to realise the full potential of what BMW have given us. Without one, you have limited traction, one tyre fire at best, and an uncontrollable and unpredictable rear end. With one fitted though, it fixes all of that. You have much improved traction, you have control at the back end, it's predictable, it does what you want when you want it to, and you've got childish juvenile fun on demand. Number 2, a square wheel setup. Why? Well, the staggered wheel setup on the standard car does frustrate me a bit. My tyre OCD does demand that I replace all 4 tyres at the same time, especially if I'm going for a different brand. I can just about cope with putting a fresh set of the same tyre on one axle only, but a different brand, front to rear, nope, I can't do that. Now I know some people do run a square setup on these cars. Now I've never really looked into that in detail, so I'm not familiar with how that works, but do people run the same size tyre on different sized rims, or is it the same sized rim all round? I'd want it so that I've got the same size rim all round, the same wheel, the same offset, so that the tyres can be rotated diagonally, moved around, whatever, so that I can even the tyre wear out, and that way all 4 tyres come up for replacement at the same time. Number 3, a textured steering wheel, and a thinner one. As standard, it's too fat, too soft, too smooth, and has little grip. This matters to me, especially on track, and also with the auto solo competition I've got coming up in a few weeks' time. I don't want to have to really grip the wheel hard or risk it slipping through my fingers. You know, I want a light touch, which is best for making the most of what little feel there is from the steering on this thing. Luckily, that complaint is very easily rectified. Number 4 is custom driving modes. Now this, I think, is a grievance a lot of us have with the latest breed of hot hatchbacks. This one, the M140i, as standard, comes with 6 different selectable driving modes. You get Eco Pro, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, then you get Traction off, although it's not fully off, and then DSC fully off. None of them are perfect for me. I spend 99% of my time driving this thing with DSC fully off. I always want to rev match myself, and I always want to manage the traction myself. Without doing that, I don't think you really ever learn about the car and how it behaves. I don't always want the dampers in firm. I don't always want the steering heavy. So to be able to control those 2 things independently of the driving mode selected would be a very good thing. Also, I confess to using the speed limiter every now and then. The B58 builds speed so quickly that just a quick prod on the throttle can have you doing silly speeds. I find using the speed limiter at times can help keep that in check. But every time I engage it, it puts me straight back into comfort or sport mode and disables the DSC fully off, so it then rev matches for me. And then when I turn it off, get rid of the speed limiter, I then have to manually select DSC fully off again. And lastly, number 5, the foam softness where you rest your elbows. On the door there and on the armrest. Now, I don't drive like that often. I normally just have my hands at 2:45. But when I do that, all I can think of is that my right elbow is on something quite firm, and my left elbow, by comparison anyway, is on something quite soft and squishy. Why didn't BMW make them the same? This is how petty I have to get when trying to find negatives about this car. It really, really is that good. Other than the things I've mentioned, I really do think this car is perfect. After all this time and all these miles, I really can't fault it in any way. It's the consummate do-anything car. It's a fast and capable cross-continent GT cruiser, if you want it to be, albeit quite a compact one. It's a relaxed wafter, if you want it to be. Dampers set to soft, steering set light, a nice soft eco throttle, and you just cruise along and progress is lazy and super smooth. Or of course you can turn DSC fully off, which firms the dampers up, weights the steering up, and it becomes a screaming, tyre shredding, absolute hooligan. That's perfect. So that's it. That's the 5 things I think this car needs to make it perfect. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them below. Actually, I've missed one. I don't know what I was thinking. I've mentioned this a few times before. So here's number 6, and it's the gear shift feel. It shifts okay. I've only missed one shift that I can recall in all the time that I've had this car, but it genuinely feels like someone spent 5 minutes designing it right at the end of the development of this car. Okay, yeah, I'm not doing very well here. Let's end here on 7. Offset driving pedals. They're really way over to the right. I guess that's the downside of having your feet sat alongside the rear couple of cylinders of a hulking great inline 6-cylinder turbo engine. Thanks again for watching. Please give this one the required thumbs up. Miles an hour, really?